hey, this guy got beat by this guy, and it's rare. I mean, unless they're just in straight man coverage with no help, no plugger, no nothing. It's rarely that simple, and it's rarely like, man, like this guy busted on this play. It's like, he probably saw something. They probably literally broke the rules of their defense. They probably did exactly what they were supposed to do, and this offense broke the rules of that. Like we had Shanahan broke our rules one time in a game, and so anytime you had one receiver displaced, so a displaced receiver means he's not connected to the line of scrimmage, so he's out wide, or in the slot. And a tight end can be that way too. He can be standing up off the line. But when they're in 3-point stands connected to the line of scrimmage, they're connected. So that's not displaced. And so he had Dan Quinn there. So Dan Quinn, ran our scheme. And so I'm sure they ran it throughout training camp, and he figured out the holes in the scheme. And so he brought in two tight ends to the single receiver side. So there's a receiver each side and two tight ends to the left, and they're both connected to the line of scrimmage. He just ran a simple, one-step slant by the receiver. And when you have one receiver, it's man-to-man. It's pretty much man-to-man. Hey, I got that guy locked up, but it's cover 3. But if that guy stays in there and he runs a slant, I got the slant. And so he ran him on a one-step slant. He ran the tight ends on seams. Touchdown. Uncontested. And it broke the defense. It literally was against every rule that we had. So we had to change the rules of the defense in order to combat that situation, but nobody had ever done it. So sometimes you run into situations where you're like, man, these guys suck. Like, these guys made a mistake. It's like, they beat the scheme.
Says on the beat, boy.
Yeah. Cause he wanna light. Headlights, I've been whipping midnight through the city. I've been going through some things, trying to get my mind right. Push the bucket to the lip, push that bitch into the fence. Gotta get the full control, gotta get my mind right. Headlights, I've been whipping midnight through the city. I've been going through some things, trying to get my mind right. Push the bucket to the lip, push that bitch into the fence. Gotta get the full control, gotta get my mind right. Yeah.
What's going on, Cowboys Nation? It's your boy DMV, back with the new one, back with the fresh start. Your boy has to look boyishly handsome out here. I'm just looking for a fresh start, man. Sometimes, I know everybody say keep the beard and all of that type of stuff, but sometimes you just need a fresh start, fresh aura, fresh energy, right? And I got my Joe Barty here as we're coming down the stretch of this season. And a lot of what Richard Sherman talked about was something that has ultimately been talked about throughout NFL circles, throughout content creators. We've been talking about scheme versus really, personnel, and that was something we talked about on my channel weeks ago. Whether or not scheme or personnel was an issue with this defense as far as Dan Quinn is concerned, and so they talked about a time that Kyle Shanahan kind of found a hole in what their scheme was and how he was able to, derail things, and he had to change the rules. And constantly, defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators every year have to change their rules, or they go through tape, they dive through tape. Hopefully this year I'll get an opportunity to sit down with the NFL offensive coordinator, crossing my fingers right now, and figuring out how they attack off seasons. But I kind of had to think okay, well, is this sustainable for the playoff run that we have going, what we have in place right now? And I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the Dallas Cowboys this week ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles is the perfect test. It's the perfect test to see if the Cowboys at this moment right now have what it takes to take care of some of that read option, some of that RPO scheme that has given us fits in the past with quarterbacks that have mobility. So Trevor Lawrence is a guy that has all of the same abilities that Jalen Hurts has. He does not have the same roster that Jalen Hurts has. But keep in mind, you have another offensive mind over there in Doug Pederson, who has the tutelage of Andy Reid and guys like that can create wrinkles. They can look at what you've been doing week after week and create little wrinkles to see and to test the boundaries of some of your rules. And I think that, like I said, this is the perfect test because Doug Pederson definitely knows the Philadelphia Eagle way. He also knows, I'm pretty sure, these offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators know each other's tendencies at this point. So look to see a lot of RPO in this matchup. Look to see them trying to get to the edge and taking advantage of Micah Parsons on the edge like teams have done this year. Look to see them try and put the Cowboys in a bind with the read option, where it's like I'm the quarterback. I could hand it off, I could take off, or I could throw a quick slant, or throw it to the flats. Those type of things have given us fits this year. So look for the Jacksonville Jaguars to test our boundaries in those areas, and we'll see if the Dallas Cowboys are ready. But waking up this morning, I just had to think about it. Trevor Lawrence. If you match Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Hurts up next to each other, they have a lot of the same qualities. Jalen Hurts being a little more athletic, where Trevor Lawrence is more of a pocket passer. But Trevor Lawrence can definitely take off and run that football. He definitely has vision. He definitely has an eye for when the defensive end or outside backer crash down too much. I can pull this, or I can get rid of the football. He's been doing this since Clemson. So look out for the Jacksonville Jaguars to attack that early on in this game against the Dallas Cowboys, and we'll see how they react. But all right, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Got the Joe Barty tight, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.